Every single manufacturer in MotoGP has already put an 850cc prototype on track. KTM were first, running theirs in December last year with test rider Pol Espargaro at Jerez. Honda followed shortly after. Ducati, Yamaha, and even struggling Honda have all tested their 2027 machinery in private shakedowns during the opening months of this season. Every manufacturer except one, the manufacturer currently leading every championship in MotoGP, the manufacturer that has won every Sunday Grand Prix of 2026, Aprilia. And when Aprilia Racing CEO Massimo Rivola was asked directly why his team has not yet put an 850cc bike on track while every rival already has, his answer was one of the most revealing quotes of the season. He said they are definitely not in a hurry, and not because they do not care about 2027, simply put, they are not in a rush. That is the CEO of a manufacturer that has dominated the most competitive opening stretch of any MotoGP season in modern history, telling the paddock that being last to show up with the next generation bike is a deliberate strategic choice. Let us get into exactly why Aprilia are playing a completely different game, what their 2027 plans actually look like, and what the delay says about the most ruthless decision-making team in the paddock right now. From the technical details to the paddock politics to the human stories behind every result, this is MotoGP covered the way it deserves to be covered. Start with where Aprilia stand today. 3 Grand Prix weekends into the 2026 season, 3 Sunday victories for Marco Bezzecchi, 121 consecutive laps led without pressure from behind, both factory Aprilia riders first and second in the championship standings. The RSGP 26 is the fastest bike in MotoGP. Nobody in the paddock seriously disputes that. Ramon Forcada, the 3-time championship-winning crew chief, has called the Aprilia the bike to copy. Marc Marquez has publicly admitted he does not understand how Aprilia makes stiff-casing Michelin tires work at circuits where every rival struggles. Rivola himself, asked after the United States Grand Prix, told the media the Aprilia is, in his own words, the benchmark bike. Everything about the present tense points to Aprilia as the dominant force, and that is exactly why they are not rushing the 850cc project. Because the 2027 regulations are not just an engine reduction, they are a fundamental rewrite of MotoGP. Engine capacity drops from 1000cc to 850cc. Ride height devices are banned outright. Holeshot devices are banned. Aerodynamics are significantly restricted with smaller fairings and tighter limits across the board. Michelin, the sole tire supplier of MotoGP for the past decade, is replaced by Pirelli, and the fuel itself is changing to a fully non-petroleum-based formulation. Put all of that together, and the bike Aprilia will race in 2027 is effectively a completely new machine from the current RSGP. The question for every manufacturer is not whether to commit early to the new project, it is how to balance finishing off the current championship fight against laying the foundation for the next one. Rivola's answer to that question is uniquely Aprilia. Speaking to Motorsport.com Italy, he laid out the plan with a level of confidence that would be arrogance from most teams. After the Jerez week in a private test, they will start running the 2027 bike on track, but it is more of a hybrid prototype to gather some data on engine management and correlation with the dyno. They are not in a hurry, partly because they do not want to reveal their cards, but also because one of Aprilia's strengths today is, to put it in a cool way, time to market. From the moment they have an idea to when they put it on track, they are very fast. That, Rivola says, is one of the secrets of performance in anything: speed in decision-making and execution. 2 things jump out of that quote. The first is that Aprilia will begin their first track testing of the 2027 bike immediately after this weekend's Spanish Grand Prix. At the scheduled in-season test in Jerez on Monday, April 27th, the Knoll factory will finally put their 850cc prototype on track. Rivola describes it as a hybrid prototype, which means the bike is not yet a full 850cc racing machine. It is an engine management and correlation exercise designed to validate the data Aprilia have been gathering on the test bench over the past 12 months. That is genuinely useful information for the rivals paying attention. Aprilia are not just starting later, they are starting smaller. The second thing is the phrase about not revealing their cards. This is a strategic choice. KTM, Honda, Ducati, and Yamaha have all put their 850cc prototypes on track in front of cameras, photographers, and paddock observers. Every lap of those sessions has been documented, every aerodynamic detail photographed, every chassis concept scrutinized. By being last, Aprilia get to see exactly what direction every rival has taken with the new regulations before they show their own hand. In a sport where copying your rival's best ideas is legal and encouraged, going last with your prototype is a structural advantage. The manufacturers that test first give free information to everyone watching. The technical director at Aprilia, Fabiano Sterlachini, has laid out the development timeline in more detail. In interviews earlier this season, Sterlachini confirmed that Aprilia's 850cc engine has been running on the test bench for months. In his words, the engine is running in what he called testing mode, for reliability, confirming everything and starting part of the development. The full prototype bike has been built since earlier this year. What has been delayed is not the bike itself, it is the decision to put it on track. Sterlachini has also explained the broader development crossover strategy. Aprilia will concentrate on 2026 bike development through March and April, then split the engineering group to address the initial 2027 project starting around April. That crossover point is essentially now. And here is the crucial context that makes this strategy work. Under MotoGP engine freeze rules, the current 1000cc engine specifications have been locked for the 2025 and 2026 seasons for every manufacturer outside the concession category. Aprilia supported that freeze. Rivola has been explicit about this, because it stops rival development on the current bike, while giving Aprilia's engineers room to focus on 2027. The freeze helps Aprilia twice. It protects their current competitive advantage on the RSGP26, and it frees up engineering resources for the future project. But there is a genuine risk in this approach, and Rivola knows it. The 2027 regulations remove ride height devices, which Aprilia have been less reliant on than Ducati, so that rule change is neutral for them. The regulations restrict aerodynamics, which is actually Aprilia's biggest current strength. The switch from Michelin to Pirelli is the single most unpredictable variable in the entire equation, because nobody truly knows how the new rubber will interact with the new chassis. Rivola has repeatedly identified the tires as the biggest unknown, saying that maybe the big question mark is not about the bike or the engine, it will be the tires. That, in his view, is the most challenging aspect. For Aprilia specifically, the aerodynamic restrictions could be the biggest threat. The team have spent years building an engineering culture around aero innovation, poaching former Ferrari Formula One aerodynamicist Marco De Luca, introducing the F-duct concept, and creating a bike that extracts more downforce per square centimeter of fairing than any rival. The 2027 rules reduce the available fairing area, cut the maximum permitted aerodynamic surfaces, and tighten regulations around active aero solutions. For any team, that is a setback. For Aprilia specifically, it is a direct challenge to their biggest competitive advantage. Rivola has been asked about this directly, and his answer was characteristically focused on the long term. He acknowledged it will have a different importance because they will simply have a smaller fairing to work with, but said he is one of those who believes aerodynamics will still be extremely important. Aprilia clearly want to maintain their technological leadership in that area, so it is about having the courage to keep inventing something that can bring results. That word courage has become the defining theme of Rivola's Aprilia. Asked recently to describe the single principle that guides Aprilia's bike design philosophy, his answer was exactly that: courage. The courage to innovate, the courage to invent, not being afraid to make mistakes, because if you do not make mistakes, it means you are going slowly. Sometimes they will look like fools, sometimes like heroes. The important thing, he says, is knowing they are neither, but believing they can do their job well. And here is the broader competitive context that matters. Italian manufacturers have historically been more efficient at fast development cycles than Japanese manufacturers. Rivola has pointed this out directly, saying he thinks Italian companies in general, and he can speak for Knowles specifically, are super efficient, and he sees no reason why their 2027 bike should not be very competitive. Sterlachini agrees. He believes you have to exploit the strong points of each company. European culture in general is more reactive, and Italian companies especially so. They believe they can handle the confusion, the mess, because they are super reactive. In his view, that is more an opportunity than a problem. The translation is clear. Aprilia are betting that their ability to design, iterate, and deploy faster than the Japanese manufacturers means being last to show up with a prototype is not a disadvantage. It is an advantage. There's also a practical problem Aprilia face that no other manufacturer does. Their rider lineup for 2027 is almost entirely different from their current one. Marco Bezzecchi will stay. Jorge Martin and AI Aguirre are heading to Yamaha for 2027. Raul Fernandez's future is undecided. Aprilia will therefore lose most of their experienced riders right at the moment they need feedback on the new bike. The Pirelli tire and 850cc engine tests, scheduled at Brno on June 22, and Spielberg on September 21st will be attended by only a small number of full-time riders from each manufacturer, because most contracts restrict riders from testing a future manufacturer's bike while under contract elsewhere. For Aprilia specifically, this means Bezzecchi will do most of the development testing on the 2027 bike, with significant input from test rider Lorenzo Savadori and limited contribution from Martin or Augura. That is a leaner testing program than most rivals will have access to. So is Aprilia's decision to delay 850cc testing a masterstroke or a gamble? The honest answer is both. The masterstroke is the strategic logic. Let rivals reveal their hand first, stay focused on winning the current championship, rely on Italian engineering efficiency to accelerate the 2027 project once focus shifts. The gamble is the downside risk. If the 2027 Aprilia underperforms at launch because of the Pirelli tire unknown, the aerodynamic restrictions, or simply because Aprilia overestimated how quickly they can catch up, the team may lose everything they have built over the last 2 years in a single bad opening to the next era. Rivola himself has framed this with one of the best quotes of his career. Every year, he has always said their best bike would be the next one simply because he has always seen a growing company. And if the company grows, the result, their bike will inevitably be better than the previous year. That confidence is either the exact reason Aprilia will dominate the transition into 2027, or the exact reason the team's fall will be spectacular when the new era arrives. For now, the evidence favors the confident interpretation. Aprilia are winning every race. Their current engineering culture is the envy of the paddock. Their test bench data on the 850cc engine has been described as very encouraging, and the private Jerez test on April 27th will be the first glimpse of how the 2027 project is actually performing. Until then, every other manufacturer is busy testing their prototypes while Aprilia sit back, watch what works and plan their own move. What do you think? Is Aprilia's decision to delay 850cc testing a genuine strategic masterstroke that will pay off in 2027, or are they taking too much risk by leaving themselves less development time than every rival? Will the switch from Michelin to Pirelli tires fundamentally reset the competitive order, or will Aprilia's current technical advantages carry over? And can Marco Bezzecchi single-handedly carry Aprilia's 2027 development program while Martin and Augura leave for Yamaha? Drop your predictions in the comments. If you enjoyed this breakdown, like and subscribe for more MotoGP coverage. See you in the next one.